Yep, I'm ready whenever y'all are. I just got to get my name tag, my Aspire badge, and my mask on, and I'll be ready to go. What? We're not meeting in person this year? Are you kidding me? I mean, I've got a big presentation planned. Oh, I'm doing it by Zoom. Okay, well, let me know when my Zoom session is. Oh, it's now? Oh, hi, I'm Vicki Bond, University of Texas at Tyler, and welcome to my session at Aspire 2020. I want to thank you guys for showing up and for wanting to see this presentation of mine. I appreciate it, but it's time to get busy now. So let's jump into this session real quick, and let's just kind of start going in and see what we have happening for us today. I'm going to be walking you through how UT Tyler overcame the challenge of social distancing in academic and event space due to this COVID thing that's out there, just by slapping a mask on the room records. I mean, it's only fair that if we're going to have to wear a mask indoors, then they should too. For the next 25 minutes, we're going to talk about just the different problems, how people were affected, what was needed, how and where changes were made. I'm going to introduce myself, and then we're also going to look at some takeaway and action items. And then there is a question and answer discussion slide that is going to show you where to go after watching the video if you have any questions or if you just want to provide some feedback on this session. As I said, I'm Vicki Bond, and I am with the University of Texas at Tyler. We have an estimated 9,900 students, which is pretty level from this year to last year, but it's the highest first-time in college enrollment that UT Tyler has ever seen, and our housing is at a 96% capacity. We are in the best state. Tyler is in Texas. Yes, Kansas City, I am claiming it. I have been at the University of Texas at Tyler and working in Astra for a little over 13 years. 8 of that included academic scheduling as well as event scheduling. Now I do 100% event scheduling, and that includes summer camps, conferences, and summer housing. 4 camps. We're currently looking at intern housing for the summer, and a lot of that's just going to depend on how COVID is for this next year. And then we're also in the process of working with campus labs to finalize an Astra Engage well, I can't say that, Astra Engage integration to hopefully go live in the spring with our student orgs using Engage to go directly into Astra and record and request their space that way. I'm also going to be testing the Outlook feature in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And with some of our conference rooms, we're able to get all of our conference rooms into Astra. And so we're going to be going that route, and hopefully that will work out good for us. Nowadays, we can really blame COVID on just about anything. I mean, if my house isn't clean, well, it's because of COVID. If I'm ordering pizza again and not cooking dinner, well, it's COVID. If I have a slight cough, well, I need to take another day off from work or work from home again, because, you know, it could be COVID, for goodness sake. I don't want to get my coworkers sick, but this really is COVID's fault. The reason why we kind of had to go this route, and probably the reason why I'm even giving this presentation. We needed max capacities to reflect 25% to 50% lower, and sometimes even lower than that, depending on setup configurations, so that they wouldn't show up as an option when scheduling if the attendance was too high. Our people are probably a lot like yours and a lot like all the other campuses across the nation, is that the people have a set room that they want to be in, whether it's for events or courses. If it's events, it's because that space worked good for them last year and they want to be in it again. If it's for courses, you know, it's probably that professor's classroom and office are close by each other, and so that's the reason why he wants a specific room. But this semester posed a problem because with social distancing, some of those rooms were too small if the attendance didn't change. We needed to come up with a way that only the rooms we wanted to populate actually populated when rooms were being requested or scheduled. And we wanted to stay as far away from effective room dating as possible. In case you're wondering, this is my daughter. She is an ICU nurse, and I am just super proud of her. And let's just remember all the health professionals that are out there. She's got 3 little ones at home, and her husband are both nurses. And luckily, she has not had COVID, had a couple of scares, but she has not had COVID and has not brought it home to her family. But let's just keep in mind, COVID is not a fun thing to have. Been there, done that. Don't want to do it again. And they risk a lot by being out there, and I just want to thank them. And so you guys do the same thing. Maybe we could have Hug a Health Professional Day. Well, maybe not hug. What about elbow bump? So who and what was affected? Well, I mean, you have the registrar's office because they're, in the process of scheduling courses, and they had to redo an optimizer. And then you had the academic departments who are actually going to be scheduling for spring. And then you have the event requesters and event schedulers. And then not only staff and that were affected with this, you also have student organizations because they typically want to go back into the same room that they've used every year because that worked for them. So basically, I think the question to ask is, what room wasn't affected with COVID? Because all of the rooms on campus needed to have some type of change made to them in order to have this process work. As I mentioned earlier, we needed the lowered capacity rooms to populate when scheduling or requesting. I didn't want a room that normally held 50 to populate when a room for 50 people was needed now. I need those rooms that previously held 100 or more to only populate in order to meet the 50% occupancy required by our safety department. And this affected both courses and events. The process for adding room configurations is really simple. You have to have system admin rights, so that's a biggie. So if you don't have system admin rights, then maybe they can be temporarily given to you so you can make changes, or the system admins can actually make the changes themselves. But depending on the number of rooms that you need to change, that's going to determine how long the process is. At UT Tyler, I changed all of the event spaces in the registrar's office, updated all the academic spaces, so it went really smooth. With a new configuration, not only can you get that new max capacity to show, but you can also add a layout or a picture to show what the new spacing is going to look like. And as this new default, the new capacity and layout is going to be seen when you're looking for rooms on campus, whether you're going to be looking at the rooms list or whether you are actually on the assigned room screen. I do want to give you a tip. If I could get this to blink in red, I would, but I didn't want to mess anything up with the slide. You have to have a default room configuration. And how do I know this? Well, you can guess it. I have deleted default room configurations twice now. Not once, but twice. No lie, when I was creating this PowerPoint, I actually went in and deleted it again. That was my second time to delete the default room configuration again, and it cannot be seen at all. It doesn't show up on the rooms. It doesn't show up in assigned rooms. It's just like it's not there anymore. Of course, I started freaking out thinking I deleted the room. That means I affected, that affected all of the past history. But basically what happens is it just not is seen up front. You put in a ticket to Astra Tech support, and they are able to get that up and running again for you. As I said, been there, done that. So let's jump into Astra and let's just take a peek at what it is that you have to do in order to do this process. And like I said, it's really a very simple process. You have to be signed in as a system admin, which I am. We're going to go to settings, and then we're going to go to rooms. Now, your rooms list may actually open up and it may have the filter closed. You just want to click on the expand panel, and that opens it up. And then I can search for whatever room I'm looking for. I'm going to search for STE 202. So I'm going to put in 202, and then I see it over here, and I'm going to select it. And I'll actually show you that this is, oh, lovely. Isn't that great? As you can see, this is the room record that I have been playing on. And this is what I did. I actually came down here and I clicked this X, which was true. And if I do that, you will not see the room record at all, period. Not done, not at all. And it's super easy to go in and to change these. Now, I don't have any room or any event scheduled and associated with this. So I can actually come in and I can actually delete these if I want to delete these. I'm just going to add another one in there just because I want to show you guys how you can have a lot of these in here. I'm going to back out because I want to show you real quick that when you hover over the STE202, you see the default information. You see that it's a lounge with 8 people. You see features, quantity, category, that kind of thing. So I'm going to click back in it again. And the effective rooms is up here on the right, and I don't want to change those for many reasons, but one of the big reasons is because the features, the regions, and the usage controls, they all sit with that room record. If I change the manage effective dates, then I have to go in and add that information on that new quote unquote room. Here, I'm just changing the configuration, which the features, the regions, and the usage control is not part of the configuration settings, it's part of the room settings. So let's just go in and say add a configuration. Since I've already used 50 and 75, I'm gonna say COVID, and then we'll just say 25. And you can name these anything that you want to name these. You do have to have a facility layout. If you're need a different type of facility layout, then that's also done through settings. Master list, I think, is what where you find that. But I'm just going to say this is a default setting. It has a couch. It's not really open. And then, so instead of 10, 8, 5, we're just going to say 2, that it can only hold 2 people. I could put a description in here if I wanted to, lounge with couch. This is where I make it a default, set as default. And then I can change the picture. So I'm going to add a coworker of mine in here. And that's his picture. And he is now COVID 25%. I could add a setup and tear down setting if I want to, but I don't. So I'm going to say, okay. So now you see that the picture changes and it shows that that is the new default. Default configuration, true, false, false, false. Don't get that confused with the facility layout, which is I show as default. Sometimes they're conference or whatever, but in this instance it shows default, but this is the default configuration. So, and I didn't have to do anything with the region's usage controls. I'm going to save and close. And now when I go back and hover over the target on the left side, you now see his picture and the default information. The capacity is 2. And if you want to know like where this shows up, it's going to be in the assign room. So let's just go in and let's just, we're going to add an event. I'm just going to put some DUD information in there. I'm going to say 202. I'm going to say STE202. The event type is an audition. It's going to be me. And then I'm going to jump into more options. When this opens up, I'm going to say that my estimated attendance is 5. And then I'm also going to open up my meeting record and say that my estimated attendance is 5 there. So I am going to say assign room. And I wanted to kind of show you this because you can see STE202 is here, and I'm fixing to jump in and I'm going to show you a different way that it can also be used because it doesn't have to go with just for pandemic purposes. So what I'm looking at here is I want to go and I want to say show alt room configs. So if I say show alt room configs, and let's say that I go and I want to look at a building, the OAC. Now the OAC, if you come over here to the room configurations, you see that there is an open, an auditorium, banquet, classroom. These are the petitions associated with it, but then you have a COVID auditorium, a COVID classroom, a COVID banquet. Whoops, sorry about that. So you see the alt configurations. Now, if I say don't show alt configurations in search, then I lose my banquets. And then I only see my COVID, my default, my COVID banquet. And then of course, this is the one that I selected up here earlier. I wanted to show that to you because I now want to go back in and I want to go back to rooms. And I'm going to show you what, how that plays into the record. Because as I said, you don't have to have COVID or some pandemic in order to use this feature. So I'm going to go into my ballroom record that I just showed you guys on the assign room screen. And I want to show you that what it looks like as far as configurations. So you see it has multiple configurations that can be chosen from. If it's open, then you see what the picture looks like for open. If it's a U-shaped, then we have a U-shaped design. If it's classroom, then you see we have a classroom layout. And then banquet, this is what it looks banquet style. But as you can see, this is not social distancing. So I had to go in and I had to create a COVID banquet style. And you may not be able to see the picture very well, but basically what it does is what this is it's actually showing you 6-foot squares with 2 people a piece sitting at the table. And so that really knocked this room down from 320 to 56. So a lot of our large conferences that we typically held in this room can no longer be held in this room. And so I kind of wanted to show that to you, that it doesn't have to be a pandemic reasons that you have to use this and go this route. It's just a way that Astra, that we've been able to use this functionality of Astra that they already had in there for us, that we can use it for something like a pandemic. So the takeaways here is, like I said, the pandemic is not required for this functionality. We use it for banquets and different types of setups and open, and you just have to make sure that in order to see those, that on the assign room that you have the set show alt configs to see all of those. You want to make sure that you have a default room configuration, but remember, don't freak out if you lose it, because Astra can take care of it for you. I always create an action item and be organized, because throughout the day, things are going to happen. You're going to get interrupted, and you just kind of need to know where you left off and where you need to start back again. And don't you hide behind a mask. If you need help, reach out. Astra's there. You've got other people at different, universities, myself, that are always willing to answer questions and help. If you have any questions or comments that are related to this session, you want to go to the community topic Aspire 2020 sessions and locate the post for this session, and then add your thoughts in the comments section below. I feel like I should knock my granddaughter and say, check out my channel or subscribe, but I'm just going to tell you guys, rank my session high. Maybe they'll ask me back to do another session next year. Once again, my name is Vicki Bond. I am with the University of Texas at Tyler, and y'all stay safe out there and stay healthy.